Those messages are that black men are dangerous because if you look at the news, there have been studies on this. Local news overrepresents black folks as perpetrators, overrepresents white folks as victims. So the message that gets sent is they're dangerous and specifically to you. They are not only bad people, they're going to hurt you. So therefore, we want to keep them on that side of town. We want to keep their children in those schools over there. We don't want to work around them. We don't want to live around them, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that message comes through loud and clear in the way that media represents people of color. You know, whenever we, thinking about Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old child that was shot in Cleveland by police, when that happened, what did they do? The first news story in Cleveland that made a big splash was about Tamir Rice's parents and the history of domestic abuse and criminality among his parents, not about the cop that killed him. We talk worse about black victims than we do white killers. What did we say about Ted Bundy? Oh, he was so smart and he was so quiet and he always seemed so nice. Every time one of these white boys goes and shoots up a school, what do we say? We had no idea he was going to do this. So we talk better. We have more sympathy for white folks who commit mass murder, bury bodies under the house, cook them up in a soup pot and eat them, right? Than we do black folks who were killed by police. We start digging for every bad thing they ever did. We want to know if they had a juvenile record. We want to know if they'd ever been arrested. That's what the media does. And until that changes, I'm afraid white folks will stay in denial and it'll be very hard for us to move forward, whether we're talking about cops or just average everyday folks.
I have a question. Do police officers make you nervous?
Heck yes.
Now, what if it was a black police officer?
Nah, it's different. So black people often navigate white spaces as a foreigner. As I sit in this room, I'm one of 3 black people in here. You sit in this room and you're one of 35 white people in here. It's natural for you.
Yeah.
You're home. Whenever I walk into a room, a restaurant, church, anywhere, I'm looking for black people. Just in case something pops off, it's like, okay, we here. Me and you, like we're together. Because so many black people in life have probably gone through some sort of struggle, there's an instant connection.
And it makes you relax a little bit more. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, you're still dealing with a cop, so you're nervous naturally.
But it's if I can now be honest, I see he's black before I see he's a cop.
Right.
I see you all are cops first.
But I would like to say what scares us is I think we hear violence.
The young lady said she's afraid of violence. And isn't it sad that we who have been the victims of so much violence, now whites fear violence from us? We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us. See? And what you fear, may I say this, sir? What you fear, and it's a deep guilt thing, that white folks suffer. You are afraid that if we ever come to power, we will do to you and your fathers what you and your people have done to us. And I think you are judging us by the state of your own mind, and that is not necessarily the mind of black people.
I'd say that having these kind of conversations is really enlightening because it really reveals what white people versus black people understand racism to be. Because the perception of racism from between black and white people is completely a different concept. And sometimes I'd love to put it this way. America doesn't have a race problem. It has a system problem. America has a system problem, systemic. And the system has trained people to believe that talking about racism is worse than racism itself, because talking about it does not make you racist. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You know, you cannot silence the oppressed and then pretend that the oppression has disappeared magically just because it's not talked about. In fact, it is vice versa. When we don't talk about oppression, oppression gets a chance to thrive. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
I would just like to say that I am terrified that even you, someone who's obviously educated, has given up hope completely. Like when you call upon us, you say white folk, you say black people, Jewish people. Why can't we come together? We obviously can come together. We just have to find a way to do it.
The desire is good, but the reality is the total opposite of your desire. And unfortunately, as a young lady, you are not in the position of power to make the decisions to make America work. May I, you know, as an audience of intelligent people, I would like to just take a moment to say to you that I really don't think you fully understand what has happened to these people that you look at as second class or inferior citizens in this nation. Black people who were brought to this country were stripped of their names, language, culture, religion, God, and taken totally away from the history of themselves. Here are 30 million people who don't wear their own names, they wear your names. Who don't speak their own language, they speak English, which is not their language. They never were allowed their own cultural expression of Africa. Don't you realize that when you turn a people upside down and inside out, then sell them not for a day, not for a year, but for 300 years, and deny us the human right to know, to read a book, to learn, to understand, and then after 300 years of that, you allow us into the church, but by that time, you've painted Jesus white, God white, the angels white, and then all these black people have been subjected to a form of white supremacy, which produces in the reverse a black inferiority. And this is fulfilling what Jesus said, as a man thinketh, so is he. And as long as our people think the way they think, we will never be able to do what we as a people should do to correct our condition.
Over here, please.
Several people in the audience have said the things that he's saying.
But we should be scared. It should be the people of color.
Right. Yeah. It should be us who should be scared, or y'all sitting here.
Excuse me, I was brought up in, quote, Bedford-Stuyvesant in my time. But I would like to say what scares us is I think we hear violence.
May I respond? Yeah. May I respond, please? I'm sorry.
All right. Minister Farrakhan, would you explain why it is relevant at this stage in 1990, with all that we've gone through, why it is still relevant to try and to educate or to get white people to understand the plight of black people? Shouldn't the energy be directed to us?
Right on. If I may, my work is directly to black people. I spend 99% of my time dealing with us to help us reform our minds and spirit that we may do for ourselves. However, when you live in a society like this, and we know that in order to effect a solution to a problem between black and white, then there's going to have to be some meaningful dialogue between black and white in order to effect a solution. The young lady said she's afraid of violence. And isn't it sad that we who have been the victims of so much violence, now whites fear violence from us? We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us. See? And what you fear, may I say this, sir? What you fear, and it's a deep guilt thing, that white folks suffer. You are afraid that if we ever come to power, we will do to you and your fathers what you and your people have done to us. And I think you are judging us by the state of your own mind, and that is not necessarily the mind of black people.
I'm with you. in that you're talking about wanting to have meaningful dialogue, and that's a problem. You know, right away, I don't know what's going to make whites happy, for Pete's sake. You know, you're talking about trying to find a solution to your problem. You're trying hard to do that, and we're tuning you right out. We're arguing with you. We're not agreeing with anything. We're not trying to give you a chance. For Pete's sake, you know, what do we want?
Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Farrakhan, there's a situation now where 1 in 4 black males are in prison or in jail or in some type of probation situation, okay? When I look around, even myself being a black reporter, okay, and they talk about racism, of a black and white person go to the job, a black person is going to get the job. I never find that out. And we're in New York City with a black mayor, and I still haven't seen it. And when I see Minister Farrakhan, not only the brothers enlighten me, but he gives me hope to not give up, not go get a pistol and stick somebody up, okay? So when I see you, not only are you the light and the hope, but I think, white America, you need to listen. And please don't harm this brother, because we love him.
Yeah, hang on a minute, yeah.
Getting back to what she said, what exactly do we have a problem with? Before you made a statement, you said that I think that, well, not I, you said that white people think that you're inferior to us. I don't believe that. I'm part of the youth of America. I am not prejudiced. I feel more prejudiced right now than I've ever felt. Not against black, I am not prejudiced against black people. Some of my best friends are black people. I am, what's the problem with that?
Yeah.
You let him speak, let me speak.
Yeah. You wanted to speak to this young woman?
No, I don't want to speak.
Who wants to talk to her? Yes.
No,
Yes.
what do you mean you feel more prejudice right now?
Because the way he's saying
Because what?
what he's saying right now, I mean, I feel that you are prejudiced towards white people.
Okay, but excuse me. I think it's like he said, it might be a fear or misunderstanding that you have, because what fear has he put, or what has he actually said here today that makes you feel prejudiced?
I think that he said that we think that they're inferior. I think it's partly part of your own complex that you have to get over, because I don't feel you're inferior. I have nothing against black people.
Let me answer her. This is the, excuse me, this is the situation. Every young white adult says, I have not done this to black people. I have not done that to black people. But your forefathers are the ones who have set us in the situation we are in. Now, what I'm saying is this. When Nat Turner stood up, you all rejected him. You killed him. When Marcus Garvey stood up, you all rejected him, enslaved him. He died a broken heart. Now, what I'm saying is this. Your fathers have put us in the condition we are in, and today you are profiting from what your forefathers have done. Now, my grandchildren are going to be raised, and your children are going to say to them, they have not done to them, because you are the ones who are going to do to my grandchildren what they're going to experience if the situation continues. Now, what I'm saying is this. When we talk about America falling, what we are saying is this. If you all want to control America, then we must have a land base that we control. You all cannot continue printing the dollar bill and then expect us to abide by your rules when you do not want to give us jobs. Therefore, I'm saying that we have now got to come into negotiations, and Minister Farrakhan is the man to listen to.
It becomes apparent more and more as we listen to each other and try to talk to each other that we don't perceive reality the same. And as we're talking about either reconciling differences or separating, it becomes clear that if two people are looking at the same thing and perceiving it so differently, then the two people are operating under a different stimulus. And so when the young lady says, I am prejudiced, to be prejudiced means to judge before the fact. After 400 years of living and experiencing, we're not prejudiced. We are looking at the reality of what we have suffered and continue to suffer.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Are you there, caller?
Yes.
Thank you for waiting. I'm sorry it took us a while to get you, but go ahead. I know you'll be brief.
I'm a white American born into poverty, and I overcame it. You know, the opportunities are here in America, and why can't we just start now? We hear all this violence. Why can't we just talk in a positive way and go forward instead of remembering all these things that are in the past that are negative? They were not good for blacks, not good for white.
Yes, Minister Farrakhan commenting.
According to the State of Black America by the Urban League, if we started right now, they said, we could never close the gap to black poverty and white poverty. She said, let us start right now. Let's forget the past. Notice this. When Jewish people remember the Holocaust and want the world to remember the Holocaust. Wait. Why do you want the world to remember? Because if the world does not remember, it is likely to repeat itself. And Jewish persons who suffered from the Holocaust want the world to remember this because the world turned its back while Jews were put in ovens. I, as a black person, want my people to remember what we have suffered and what we continue to suffer so that we will say like the Jews, never again. Never again.
Okay, I've been listening in this corner right here, and I've heard a whole lot of negative things from the white people here. When you were trying to explain yourself, the white people don't want to hear you explain yourself. They drown you out. They start already trying to drown you out and talk over you. There's a certain amount of white arrogance here, and they don't want to listen to what black people are saying. They don't understand because they don't want to understand. I've heard a woman here say, go back to Africa. Somebody said, we have a black holiday. What does that mean? So what does that mean? He did not say that. He said, if we have a choice, what some of us can go and some of us can stay.
Remember,
but there's no understanding in here. People are just trying to talk.
To those arrogant persons, you know, when you tell us go back, please remember where you came from. And when you want to relegate somebody to a specific place, just remember what your origin is in this world. Please, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I want you to understand that you, wherever you are on the earth, you are not a native anywhere. You came there and took it from the native people who are there. So please don't talk about going back, because if others talk to you about that, where would you go?
Okay, now what do we learn from this conversation that is still so relevant today? The real problem in America, in this world, is the system. America's issue is not the labels. It's not like calling someone African American or Black American is a problem. Identity is not a problem. The system is. In fact, I do believe personally that calling a person black people are very much proud of their identity, and they love and they appreciate being recognized and identified as black people. And in fact, it is a sense of pride. So calling them the labels is not a problem. When we talk about the system being the problem, what we are talking about essentially is the institutions, the economics, the politics, or all of the structures that really produce inequality. The system is designed in a way that it creates an imbalance, and this imbalance protects unfairness, injustice, and that is, where racial injustice truly lives, truly thrives. Not in people's names, not in people's identity. Calling people black is not a problem. I think the only people who don't love to be recognized with their original identity is probably calling people European Americans, because they are European Americans, but some of them get offended by being identified as European Americans, but they love to call everybody else, all the other names. Now, point number 2 here is silencing black voices helps racism to thrive, if not survive. telling black people to stop talking about racism and to move on from racism, from talking about it, is not peace, does not bring peace. It is actually complicit to the crime that racism and an imbalanced system is. So silencing people means the system stays intact. The status quo is not upset. Injustice continues. And those that benefit from that unjust, unfair system are not held accountable. That is exactly what it means to silence people who want to talk about it. And it's like telling someone bleeding to stop complaining of the pain instead of stopping the wound from bleeding. That's exactly what it means. So, and this is what Minister Louis Farrakhan is saying, just as the world must or is forced to remember the Holocaust so it never happens again, black people have the right and the duty to remember, to speak, to demand repair. So history does not repeat itself. Yeah. And point number 3 that we are getting from this conversation is I have black friends means totally nothing. And it is a laughable point to say that you're not racist because you have black friends. I have a lot of black friends, so I am not racist. No, that does not protect you from being racist. In fact, it is a deflection from accountability and responsibility. You can have black friends and still benefit from a system of white supremacy. So you're complicit to racism, to the system. You can have black friends and ignore systemic inequality, unfairness, and injustice. You can have black friends and do nothing to challenge the status quo, to challenge the power structure as it is. So the real question is, what are you doing as that white person so your so-called black friends can have the same opportunities that you have, or even that you take for granted for? Because you listen to these people, and when I talked about these conversations exposing ignorance, is because some of them don't even know that they are in the center of privilege. Whiteness is in itself some sort of privilege. They don't even realize that many people are far from where they stand already, So friendship does not equal anti-racism. Action, speaking about it, challenging the system from inside as a white person really is the solution. Now, something else we are noting from this conversation is that the fear of black retaliation is actually guilt from racist people. Black people are not known for attacking, hunting, or seeking revenge on white people. But in fact, history shows the exact opposite. Black people in America, in the Caribbean, in Africa have suffered heavily in mass at the hands of white people from Europe. If you look at the massacres in Africa, they are unfathomable. King Leopold of Belgium unalived over 10 million Congolese people. You look at the massacre committed by the Germans in Namibia, in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in Algeria, and we're not even talking about the case of America, which obviously it still continues today. You will simply understand how black people have suffered in the hands of white people. But historically, white people have not suffered in the hands of black people. You cannot point any time in history, in the past, where there is a white massacre because of black people. Now, Donald Trump has been recently, and his buddy, or former buddy, Elon Musk, have been fabricating claims of a white genocide in South Africa. and even gave those white South Africans a chance to move to United States of America. But what happened is that less than 50 of them, I think if there were many, there were about 50 in number, that hit the call, that took the offer, the Donald Trump's offer to resettle them to America. And they said they are not being prosecuted in South Africa. South Africa generally has a crime problem. It's not targeted only towards white people. It is just a general problem in the country that everybody in that country is suffering. So violence has always gone from white to black and not the other way around. So where does this fear come from? It's guilt. People project what they would do if they were in black people's position. Okay, so they hold on to white supremacy because they fear losing power, and they fear facing the world where they can't actually now control and dominate in their own terms. So the fear is not based on black behavior historically, it is based on conscience of these people, right? So these conversations need to continue. I wish kind of conversation would be held so we can really read into the minds of people, because when people fear equality, what they really are afraid of is losing the unearned, undeserved advantage that they enjoy. Talking about racism or racial injustice is not dividing people. It is accountability. It is holding people accountable. It's pointing out the painful part of history, and so that people know what is happening, what happened, and so they can avoid such traps moving on into the future. So if the system is broken, you don't silence the victims of a broken system. You fix the system itself. Yeah. So that is that for this video. I hope you enjoyed, you learned from this video. Do let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like and share this video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.